Hello, hello.
Um,
Bonjour. Let's just quickly
um, yeah,
do the usual shilling.
let me see. Let me see. Um, hello, hello. Um,
I can see us on
let's,
both platforms, so working as intended.
yeah. I'm just going to set this up here. 1 second. Then we gonna talk about. Okay, I have a YouTube here. Let's make sure to share that one. On some of these other channels. Uh, uh, um, Jesus, Jesus. So it's okay. Let me share the thing on Twitter, and
Yes,
then we
awesome.
can get things. Um, how is everyone doing? Not that I have it opened. So, 1 second. Um, RunnerXBT.
Hey, you are runner XBT now, dude.
Okay. I'm trying to find this here. Share thing. No, this
It's
is not
post this in
available.
the YouTube, in the Twitter things.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. So, well, with um, mm, uh, um, just a second, and we are ready.
There's already a good question. Goddamn. People are quick. Yeah, no worries. We can. We are a bit early anyway, so we can
Yeah,
start at exact 6 p.m. local time. And
I think we should be ready. I'm
yeah, you're
ready. I
good.
shared everything. I shilled everything, shared everything. Hello, everyone. Hope you are doing well. Um, it's been a week since we last spoke, or something around that time. So let's just jump into for a bit some markets, talk about some of the price action, and the share the ticker in a on a feed is legal again season. So before we get into things, the streams are sponsored by Bongbot. If you want to check out Bongbot, we would greatly appreciate that. They recently launched their new trading terminal. We might actually show it as well towards the end of the stream, so stay tuned for that. But overall, if you want to jump on chain, which price action seems to be in favor of that, Bongbot is your best choice there. So yeah, so we had a nice move to the upside. I think last week when we spoke, I'm not exactly sure what day. Bitcoin was kind of around 105K, so not that big of a difference. We spoke about this, that kind of pullback to 100K. Ended up getting both. I did, I mentioned that, I will be kind of interested in buying there. I bought there. Bitcoin has been kind of chilling underneath all-time high. I think the most of the action now is in the ETH, which, for the first time since forever, I'm actually in profit on longs, which is very unusual. But yeah, if I'm just going to quickly go through BTC, I think it looks great. Obviously, we are just a couple $1,000 underneath the all-time highs. Um, so I'm at least expecting that to get traded through. I don't really see many reasons why. At this point, we shouldn't really test the all-time highs again. Possibly, obviously, really higher since we have been kind of. This is going. We can say that this is basically a third test of this 110K area. and there was not that much time between that. Obviously we made the highest in January, then sold off, but we are back already. And since market is just kind of refusing to go down, I would expect this to actually overshoot, which is in support or supportive of a bunch of things. When you actually look at Bitcoin, it's very interesting to see that how kind of healthy this is still looking. I think the basis on futures is still quite low. I haven't really checked if I would look at something like Velo,
Yeah,
but
it's pretty low.
we can also use something more simpler. If you look at something like funding rate, for example, there has been this lot of kind of fucking around on with funding rates due to this hyperliquid guy. So hyperliquid funding rates were kind of all over the place. But exchanges like Binance, Bybit, OKX are still sitting pretty neutral. The annualized 3-month basis is also 6%, in like in comparison to something like November, end of November, where it spiked around 20% and overall I think we have seen some like above 20% ish numbers, where it's kind of more of a bigger slowdown pullback territories. Usually when you are hovering in this 5% area, you consider this to be a pretty healthy spot. Same for a TradFi CME annualized basis. It's at 8% at the moment. In once again in January, before we had this kind of a bigger pullback from all-time highs. End of December, we were sitting at 20%. The inauguration was at 12%. So a lot of these things are looking very healthy. Same as something we spoke about last stream as well. CME futures open interest is also lower, considerably lower than it was. It's like 16 billion now, all-time high is 20. Considering the fact that the prices are basically the same, it gives a room for the upside.
Maybe it's a bit
I don't know.
in coins because Velo allows you to.
Yeah. I guess in coins it's like 150k now. The all-time high is like 211. So still room to go, still room to basically. All the reason why I kind of mention all of this data is that obviously we still did not see that chasing effect from either obviously futures traders on that are kind of trying to capture this basis trade and overall like perp. Like if you would have more perp chasing, that I would say that funding rates would be slightly higher. And I think it's lot of this is just caused basically due to the overall demand in spot and in ETFs. So which we have seen pretty consistent inflows for the last 2 months in Bitcoin. Obviously, we have now some inflows in ETH as well for the first time since forever, which is something that you
Actually,
should have a
first
look
time
at.
like ever.
Yeah.
That's the number
so
one hate that
so
I've
yeah,
been keeping track.
I think Bitcoin looks great, looks healthy. Considering that we are at 110k, I don't see that many signals for this to be like a top. That is like obviously open interest is somewhat elevated. It's just basically at all-time high, but like you are not. That's not like something which is surprising. Any kind of pullback that we get, it's getting bought back very quickly as well. I think this was the test that 100k test was around number. It was like 50-day moving average and a lot of these things. So I think like I'm not the biggest fan of stuff like moving averages and in general, like I do not trade the best in like a strong trending markets, as I love to be the bearish European contrarian person, but I am now old and I can say smart enough to not try to like fade these things and try to call the tops for likes and clouds on the internet. So yeah, I think Bitcoin's looking good. Like I said, I got some of that long exposure at 100k, trying to see how far is going to run. I don't really know. Always like people do have these targets. I see a bunch of people going for like 120 and doing these like Fibonacci extensions and I don't know, bunch of other things. Like obviously there are some ways how you can kind of come up with targets when it comes to price discovery. I think if you would look at something like options on the Rebit, that also got pretty popular, and now we have also decent volumes in IBIT and stuff like that. Like I would maybe use like a strikes with a large amount of open interest, which I think, in my opinion, would be like one of the more sophisticated ways to look at like upside targets. But in general, you just like if you catch the trending move, and especially if it's a price discovery, you kind of just want to actively manage the trade and try to not give back too much and just see where this thing is going to go, rather than have like set target at like 120 and
Yeah.
then see this
Stay very
go much
fluid, right?
higher or whatever. So yeah, so at the end of the day, these are for a lot of people, these are going to be these kind of like a biggest trades, or like in general, like even for me, like obviously when I am able to catch uh, the trade, which is trending like this, it's always tends to be this kind of a biggest trade that I end up taking for during like for a trading year. Obviously, the way that I like to trade and what I kind of position with the biggest size is rather at the lows, where most people are bullish. Right now, obviously everyone is kind of bearish. So buying, but like it's kind of might sound a little bit weird, but like buying, I was mentioning buying around 80K um, back in April. It was like much easier trade for me
Mm.
than buying at 100K over the weekend, which is kind of funny if you think about that. But it is just the way it goes, kind of. So yeah, I think BTC looks great. Obviously, if you're gonna get a pullback, I think there's not many reasons for this 100K low, which we basically put on Thursday last week to get broken. So I'm personally using that as kind of an invalidation for any bullish bias. That's like 50-day EM moving average, and the general kind of trend structure. I think it's like price action on this is pretty clean, I would say. So as long as 100K goes, it's looking pretty good. If you get pullback to like 105, I might consider adding if I would see some like a shorter term liquidations and stuff like that. Um, but yeah, it's an uptrend overall, like a bigger picture, kind of the indicators and all of these things are looking pretty healthy. So that's kind of my thoughts for Bitcoin. How about you?
Yeah, I mean, not much to say. Almost did a new all-time high. I think I'll be the boring guy again, unfortunately, but also just TradFi has been strong. Nasdaq is like, I can check, but what is it, like half, like a percent from all-time high,
Yeah,
effective at all-time high.
it's very close to the
Yeah.
all-time high.
So in terms of context, like why, like I think contextual makes a lot of sense. We've had CPI, we have all the macro data points. It's like actually S&P daily looks even more insane than Bitcoin to me. Like from the lows, it's just up and to the right.
Yeah,
It looks like
yeah, the it's
honeypot, which
yeah,
is
it's doing
which.
this like
Yeah.
slow grind up. Yeah, no mind.
So we had bunch of macro data points, good, bad. We resulted in it going up. Dollar's been very weak. I don't really trade that, but yeah, I know you do gold. Like basically nothing changed on macro side is what I'm trying to say. And the biggest, and I know I'm repetitive, but you just have to give it its flowers. I picked up actually one tweet from Sailor, because actually in past few weeks, Michael Saylor, or sorry, Strategy hasn't been buying that much. They've been buying around 100 million a week, which is really small compared to, on all like relative basis, compared to even Metaplanet, the Japanese copycat. So they haven't been buying much, and I'll get back to it in when we talk about ETH. But we've had, I tweet too much, I will not be able to find the tweet, but like something along the lines of like 16 companies last week alone announced that they're gonna do a Bitcoin treasury, Bitcoin thing, and great website for that is bitcointreasuries.net. Highly encourage. It's like relatively new to me, and everybody's non-stop buying Bitcoin, right? So it just makes so much sense to me that, and I think it explains a lot of the, we would both of us look at like order flow data, which as of right now it does not seem frothy because I think the only buying pressure is mostly these companies, right? You have DJT, which is Trump, gonna buy 2.5. You have GameStop buying half a yard. MetaPlanet announced 5.4 billion. Sailor has like fucking 30 billion left. You know what I mean? And also on top of that, Michael Saylor announced, which I believe we'll see buying pressure tomorrow and Monday or in the coming days. They launched the STRD product, which you probably never even seen. I assume, Adam. It's like a new, just like he has now like 5 different financial products. He has MicroStrategy, STRK, STRF, and now STRD. So, which is gonna be $1 billion, is why I'm saying it. So another billion. He tweeted 3 hours ago that STRD begins trading on Nasdaq today, and yeah, I just think this is gonna, full send basically BTC again.
Yeah, no, it looks really good. Yeah, for the stocks as well. Obviously, the S&P has been very strong. I think a lot of people kind of underestimated. I think a lot of people were betting on on stocks as this kind of a continuous weakness when it comes to the trade wars and tariffs and everything, which obviously didn't really play out. A lot of kind of shorts getting squeezed. I think the better bet here, or it's obviously a little bit in hindsight, was shorting a dollar and probably a treasury bonds rather than shorting the stock market. So, well, yeah, it looks pretty good. I'm pretty interested to see if the S&P is going to make a new all-time high with Nasdaq, how Bitcoin is going to behave. But if all of these go to price discovery, then happy days most likely. So yeah, these conditions are not the easiest to trade. Obviously, if you just kind of sit in the spot bags, or like you have like a long exposure where you are in confident, it's often it's tough, obviously, because like you never want to round trip much, but every once in a while it really pays off to just sit on your hands. And I would say that if Bitcoin is really going to break above 110K and starts to go into the price discovery, and it's good. Like, I would be more willing to just give a little bit back. Obviously not everything, like you never know and all of that, but like giving things at least a little bit of a room when it comes to like when you are actually going to peak your position, rather than zoom in into too low of the time frames, get wicked out on like first very small pullback and then watch this to go much higher. So that's, I guess, for Bitcoin. We can talk about ETH. Obviously, I think ETH and hype has been pretty hot at the moment. To be fair, I don't have that much to say about Hyperliquid.
Yeah, me neither.
I don't really keep an eye on it that much, or like track what's been going on. But ETH is pretty interesting. We spoke about this last week. Like I said, I'm quite surprised that I'm actually still surviving in the longs, which I got around like 2,500. But yeah, there's been a lot of news. Obviously, we saw these crazy inflows, or not crazy inflows, but
They
some
are
inflows into ETH.
like
Yeah.
125 would be.
So
How much smaller is ETH compared to Bitcoin?
it's not like I'm looking at the CoinGlass on the spot ETF inflows, and there has been a period back in December when these were actually higher. Uh, but yeah, right now there has been, like, you can say that it's been very consistent spot buying, and We also had some of the DeFi news, which sent a lot of DeFi coins, obviously, and which kind of goes to stuff like Uniswap, Aave, these kind of a DeFi blue chip tokens, basically, which obviously benefits ETH and kind of plays into this whole narrative, while Sol is still up quite a bit, but comparing, if you look at Sol ETH, it's very obvious. It's very obvious where the money are going at the moment, basically.
Yeah, there's definitely a bunch of stuff with for Eve. We both are long right now, so just take it with a pinch of salt, not to sound like a propaganda. I think first and foremost, the crypto genius bill is, I think, like the easiest to explain. I mean, right? Most of the stablecoins are on Ethereum, right? It's
Yeah.
a very, very hopefully easy connection. Why it's good. You have SEC. Have you seen SEC Trezor on crypto and staking and on chain? Have you heard of
Yeah, I saw a little
all
bit,
that
but
games?
not that much.
TLDR is they saying DeFi good, on chain good, staking good. Fuck Gary Gensler without the Gary Gensler part, but complete 180. Obviously, we knew that when Trump won, so I guess to what extent we can be like, oh, that was so obvious in hindsight, because let's just say it how it is. We've people been saying DeFi season, DeFi summer, it's Eve time. Past 3 years. How long we've been streaming, me and you? Past almost 3 years now. Like every
Yeah,
single
probably.
time
Yeah.
it was, this time was not different. This time could be different. I mean, at least as long as we are both long or have exposure to ETH or ETH betas. But Genius Act, sorry, the stablecoin bill, Genius Act, SEC, Tredoring, and obviously inflows. And kind of, I guess, one of the biggest reasons, I think, is because we have a uh, Ethereum MicroStrategy copycat, which does not seem like a lot, but we have a company called SharpLink Gaming Incorporated, which is it's called SBET, which is a company basically ran by Joe Lubin, who is a CEO or co-founder, whatever you want to call it, of Consensus, which is the company behind MetaMask and I believe Linear Chain as well, like a layer 2 that is a ZK EVM. I've done way too much research in my past few days, but it's also a co-founder of Ethereum, and he is basically trying to be a sailor of Ethereum, to keep it short. And last Friday, they announced a shelf offering of $1 billion. What it is basically equivalent of what Sailor is doing through ATM program, meaning sell SBET, which is the stock, buy Ethereum, and they're gonna do $1 billion worth. Which again, Adam might be much more experienced, but how much in terms of like order book depth and just like how to say, like how much money does it take to actually move ETH? I think a lot less than Bitcoin by
Yeah.
many metrics. And yeah, we have these new buyers stepping in and a lot of public excitement for ETH. And I think we see
Yeah.
the price action.
And I mean, it's like a, and I think we spoke about this last week a little bit. It's just this like a whole effect of, something actually positive going on. Like this thing was basically getting gangbanged for last, long time. It was, truly the most hated coin, and obviously every kind of like a
I mean, it's still
um
done fuck all since 2021, so let's just call it what it is.
yeah, like obviously we are at the same price as we have been 4 years ago, but yeah, it's a little bit of a shift, and it's this type of shift where I am like personally, I can see this narrative to hold better and kind of survive rather than some like ETH upgrade or something along these lines,
Spectra.
basically, which were yeah, which seem to be kind of a main narratives in the past, and these really uh were fates, if anything. So yeah, I think ETH is ETH is looking great. Obviously, we kind of broke through this consolidation. You know, pretty clear skies when it comes to price action. One thing which is pretty crazy to me when I was looking at some of these stuff, just you know, like how much OI came from perps and stuff like that is definitely a little bit more, a little bit crazier than Bitcoin. You know, we see a lot of buying. Yesterday we had a decent spike in funding as well,
I'd
so
love to
not
hear your
that
thoughts
clean.
about order flow of ETH. Sorry to interrupt you, but later.
Well, that's kind of a thing, right? Like and you know, I mentioned this in the past, is that I am a little bit because like in the past, especially before all of this, you know, institutional buying and stuff like that, there was the situation basically with ENA, which was like messing with with the ETH order flow quite a bit. And overall, I feel like, you know, my kind of edge is just like I'm very confident with when it comes to Bitcoin and looking at all of this stuff. But then, you know, the lower I go to uh, the market cap, the less and less effective I kind of keep finding it. For ETH, I'm still pretty confident with the stuff that I'm looking at. Obviously, ETH is still a huge market, and you know it has also active like options. For example, you know yesterday this kind of a volatility spiked quite a bit. You know there's definitely a people are buying a lot of calls, which you know is just like these things when you just have this very like there's a lot of pricing in of ETH really to say it
Hmm.
you know in a simplest form. And obviously I don't want to be you know pessimistic, bad tart and all of this, but you know ETH is still at you know it's still not like at 4K or stuff like that. Like to say it easily, like when I look at order flow and like overall derivatives flow of like perps, options, some of the spot stuff as well, when I compare Bitcoin and ETH, I think Bitcoin is just basically looking healthier to me
Yes.
than ETH, while you know Bitcoin is at all-time high and ETH is you know it's nowhere near that basically, and it's just breaking
It's
outside of
still down
this kind of a
30%. ETH BTC is down 30%
yeah
yesterday.
yeah it's the yeah. So, like I said, you know, I'm long. If I would just use stuff like price action, if you would slap some of these moving averages, I believe that we broke through 200-day EMA or something like that. We broke through this. You know, if you have a like a volume profile, we had this big kind of a volume distribution. We broke through this as well. So it's all good. You know, I'm all happy that I was able to just sit on my hands for a while, but and you know it's playing out for now. But from lot of the stuff basically that I'm looking at personally, it's it's getting a little bit like a you know like everyone is getting long type of situation, right? So I'm just more cautious. If and I wouldn't really be that surprised if ETH would just kind of take a little bit of a turn again to the downside. But still, some of these things, like if you look at funding rates for ETH, if you look at the annualized basis, these things are still pretty okay looking. Obviously, we have these kind of a um, yeah, it's not that crazily extended, but yeah,
The only thing,
I'm
two
just
things
I'm just
that,
a little bit more cautious.
sorry, that stand out with ETH to me.
Yeah.
First is the almost 20% opening interest increase. But I of course understand there's a lot of people shorting too. So just before somebody thinks that it's like end all be all. But it's just like if you go on daily in Velo in on ETH and just open interest. It's
Yeah,
you know it is insane. Like especially the past few weeks. I do support the
but
cause all the way
that's one of
until
yeah.
unlocked.
Yeah, no. Like I said, yeah, the OI is pretty crazy, but once again, that's where I feel like a little bit if this is not just you know like that situation with Athena, and all these. But yeah, no, like past couple of days in isolation, I haven't actually looked at the candles OI on Velo,
It's
sorry,
insane.
in dollar.
Yeah,
The dollar actually, the dollar measured. I usually look at coins, but yeah, we basically went from 10 billion to 15 in what is it,
3
2
days.
days?
Yeah,
Yeah, in 2 3 days basically. So yeah, I mean 50% OI
it's just a
increase
lot. Yeah,
is a little bit, yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot of buying, and like these things, in my opinion, like it can easily go and just continue higher, but
please.
they are much more they are much more kind of sensitive to any kind of pullbacks basically, because like when you gonna get a bigger pullbacks, people just start to puke these positions. Like if you look at the move which we basically had from like 8 to 10th of May, where OI actually also went up 50%, although the movement was much more significant. um, these basically those like three big daily candles, from 8th to till 10th of May. A lot of open interest, relatively less than now, but my point is like the price action never really went lower. Like everyone, like you can say that the move was from like 1800 till 2500. The low, like we didn't really breach like 2300 during this consolidation. Therefore, like even if you bought pretty late, obviously if you like top ticked that kind of a OI spike, then you got into some heat. But like in these early days, like any buys basically underneath 2300 were like pretty comfy and just sitting on their hands type of situation, right? And this is also where I kind of just bought in, because it seemed to me that this buying that we got in this first leg is just kind of supporting the price, not really letting the price to go lower. uh and for this amount of buying that we have right now, you want this to just hold, because obviously, like, imagine this size that basically bought right now is like this basically most of the OI came after we broke this kind of 2700 range, like the resistance that we had or whatever. Like that's not far from the price right now. So just imagine if we would start to trade underneath this, all of these positions would basically start to go underwater. I would expect lot of this kind of a OI puking type of situation, and that's also very good kind of a situation where you want to be watching a price action, because it's a big difference where you have a big kind of a decrease in OI and market is just either completely shitting the bed or just holding very strong. It should be like a very good indication if this is really still has a support or not, basically.
And if is just sending. I mean, please, I need a little more huddle. The moment I exit, I'm gonna go back to shitting on ETH relentlessly, just non-stop. But one thing
I
I
don't know.
wanted
I'm
to...
looking. I'm looking at. Sorry, I'll just kind of go with here. I'm looking personally at like 3100. Uh, Around that, I would be probably a little bit more careful and just kind of get out at least some, or just start trail things more aggressively. But right now, if you look at price action, if you look at like simple stuff, I like one thing that I hate to do in my trading is just like
Being
get
in profit.
the complicated stuff. No, no, like getting the kind of a complicated stuff, which is all of this kind of a data and order flow and stuff like that. Just and ignore the simple stuff. The simple stuff here being, ETH is strong, price is going up, we are above resistance, we are above the moving averages. So I don't want to be this type of, and I definitely did this in the past, where I just was like, oh, the OI is too high, like this is clearly extended now, I'll just close it, blah blah blah, and the thing is just going to continue higher on like a very simple factor of price good higher type of situation. So yeah, there are some things which I'm pretty careful of when it comes to ETH, but price going up is still kind of the best narrative that you can ever get. So I'm just going to stick to my longs at the moment, hoping that I won't be set in the end.
One thing that we would love to mention for ETH, CME, open interest. Have you looked at it at all?
Yeah, I
It's
know it's a little
2x
bit
in
lower,
past,
right? Than it.
like, it's up 2x in a month, which is a lot. In coins,
Oh.
of course.
I'm just not. I just don't know if like how actually liquid this is, or like it's a $15 billion. No, sorry, that's BTC. It's like it's $3 billion notional, which is, you can kind of say it's a lot. Is it a lot for ETH? I don't even know. I guess it's okay. What is like open interest on like Binance for ETH?
I gotta check, man. I couldn't tell you.
Yeah, I'm just trying to kind of figure out if it's like
Yeah,
relatively.
let's do it. I mean, it's on Bybit on USDT perps 2.3 million coins, which is, I refuse to try. It's 6.6 billion.
Yeah, so it's not that crazy. Like obviously, like we had
Gotcha.
with Bitcoin, there was a time when the CME OI was basically the highest, and I think for ETH, like we had this period in this December last year where, like I said, the OI was much higher than it is now, and also the even the ETF flows were higher than they are now. So yeah, I mean, like I said, it's looking good, but I am just a little bit more cautious here. I think it's still going to be very dependent. Sorry, I think it's still going to be dependent on overall market. Like there is this kind of scenario. I don't think it's like that likely, or something that I would try to kind of just predict too much in the future. But let's say that like indices going to make new all-time highs, Bitcoin is going to overshoot to 150K, and then you're gonna get a correction. Like everything just going to kind of shit the bed for summer or whatever, and we're just going to get like 3 months of downside. I don't think ETH would just go by itself, but you never know, basically.
I would actually prefer that. I would love market-wide correction and then ETH just running.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's the late stage bull market if that happens. So hopefully I'm just wrong. Honorable mention. I think it's worth mentioning DeFi since that's the title as well. If ETH goes up, it's usually good for altcoins. It's the tail.
I was looking at a lot of the. Yeah, and I was looking at like Aave and the Uniswap yesterday actually. After or I don't know when the news came out. Obviously, I'm like with all these altcoins. I'm one of those people who just like opens the chart after it's up 40%, and when it's actually time to buy, I never bother to spend 5 minutes looking at these things. But yeah, like all of these obviously rallied. I would say that one of those, like Aave, is looking pretty strong actually. Not that far from like a new yearly highs, and overall, it's
many
not looking
altcoins
like
can say
compete.
that, huh?
Yeah, not looking like same as Maker is a little bit weaker, but it's still yeah. Like I mean, these like DeFi coins, I think they just are not that bad off the bets overall. Obviously, as the altcoins go, kind of. But yeah, if ETH is going to continue, I would expect all of these to perform pretty well. Especially if you would get like more of those news in the US, of the regulations and everything that obviously would play a big catalyst. I think that as well.
Do you have any
Cool.
thoughts
So
on ETH BTC? Because we've been shitting on it past 3 years. But I mean, it just made a
well,
new recent high, I guess.
yeah, I mean it's outperforming. Well, I don't know. Like I'm going to be honest. I don't really look at it
Okay.
that much. There was this very brief period of time where we actually traded it. I think it was like last year or something. But that was like the only time where I actually traded like ETH BTC perps. But I don't really, I mean, obviously you can, like, there is this whole kind of a pair trading thing, which a lot of people and especially algorithms do and all of that, and you can kind of say that there is a like TA aspect to it, but there is not like a order flow aspect to it. Like, so I just don't trade stuff just by drawing lines and stuff. So like I'm all for buying ETH when like ETH USDT or ETH USD, ETH USD is looking good to me rather than opening, ETH BTC chart using some kind of like technical analysis or whatever and basing my ETH USDT long based on the ETH BTC chart, if that makes sense.
Yeah, yeah. I just think it's important to. Obviously, it's a bit of cope from me, but if BTC is still down 30%, so like for me, it needs to get at least at break even this year for .ETHs to even, you know.
Well, I mean, yeah, for sure. But I trade, like I trade in stable coins. I don't really have this like a agenda of caring about either of these things and like from like a fundamental point of view. So yeah, the weakest one is Sol. Still looking pretty good to
We're
me,
creating a little bottom,
but
hopefully.
it's just it had a pretty solid, it had a pretty strong sell-off at the beginning of the month, I think, which is the main reason why it's lagging. Um, Basically, it's very clear comparison here, and I was kind of watching this when basically last week, and even when basically we had the sell-off last week when BTC hit 100K. You can see that even Bitcoin sold decent bit, but Solana sold quite a bit from those local highs. ETH basically did nothing besides this one big bearish candle on a daily. So that was for me pretty kind of a clean sign. And although my longs were slightly underwater at that time, I was like, yeah, like if we're gonna go, if Bitcoin is going to find a bottom, I'm pretty sure ETH is going to rally here and not make any kind of a lower lows or whatever. It's overall pretty strong. Solana pretty weak. Yesterday we actually had the news. The ETF ones, right? So I think
Yeah.
I'm just going to let you go through that.
Honestly, it's nothing. It's been just a DB headline from, I believe, Blockworks or one of the usual reporting media websites that SEC got back to the issuers and they recommended some changes, and it looks like they're gonna approve Solana with staking. But again, I've seen a lot of people say, oh, why the fuck did it not move the price? I think it's been very. Look, we have a president of United States filing for Bitcoin ETFs with Crypto.com. What? We have a president launching fucking NFT collections, scamming with a meme coin. It's very obvious we're gonna get the ETF. So I just think it's whatever you want to call it, price stain or just not even
Yeah.
news. I don't consider it even a news. So, and it still moved. It went from 157 to 167. I think that's a nice 6% move. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? I just think you cannot have expectations when it's already all the news. That's all. But yeah, it's
Solana,
been a piece of shit.
Solana CME futures is getting like zero love. They have 130 million OI in dollars, and they are doing only 58 million daily volume, which is really low. In comparison, obviously, like ETH did 2.9 billion yesterday. Bitcoin is doing like 5 billion a day. So this is like very low, very, very low numbers. It's pretty interesting to see. I guess Sol has been really tied to all of this kind of like, and I don't want to go like too deep into the kind of fundamental space, but it's pretty clear that when people talk about DeFi, they are mostly talk about ETH, even from
Yeah.
just like a institutional point of view and all of that. And when you talk about Solana, it's mostly just slinging shitcoins and all of
On
this
Bongbot.
this kind of a gambling-ish stuff. So yeah, Sol is pretty clearly underperforming. It's interesting, and even like looking at, I think we can finally say that Murad was right with the SPX hitting
Yes.
almost all-time highs today. It's very close. I think it's going to hit it today.
Oh yeah.
That's
Holy
on
shit.
ETH, right?
Uh,
It's Yeah, I think
we
it's
should know.
on ETH. Yeah, but
No, I mean I could
it
not
was
care
just
less.
interesting. Yeah. I'm pretty sure it's on ETH.
It seems as
But yeah,
ERC20 token.
yeah. So yeah. Murad was right, and it only took 150 TikTok videos of screaming into the camera to prove a
God.
point. But no, so yeah, it's a pretty clear now that ETH has been just kind of overtaking the stage as the main altcoin, which it's fine. Sol had its moment, like Sol still rallied from 20 to fucking $300 in like a year or something. So yeah, I'm more interested in buying. Uh, I'm just more interested in ETH at the moment rather than going into Sol. So yeah, that's
Can
probably
maybe
for
quickly go
majors.
over a web terminal and wrap things up. Or maybe
Can
if
have a look
people
at
have
that.
questions, we can open up the questions for a few minutes and then do the terminal. Up to you.
Someone asking about Ripple. I have zero idea what is XRP doing, to be fair. I
Whoa.
haven't looked.
It's actually been strong, I
It's
think,
been
past few
doing.
days. No, then nothing.
It's
Whoa, this is
been.
sad.
Yeah, it's just done nothing. Which I would guess is not the worst thing.
Mm-hmm.
To be quite fair, like just I like I said, I have very little idea besides like it's getting ETF uh and having this like a
Adam,
likelihood
do
of
me a favor.
you know
Open a XRP BTC monthly chart on your computer, please.
yeah, of course it's going to be pretty sad, but at the same time I just wanted to point out that like we had this big rally in Ripple in November these and basically into the end of the year. Not sure what was the news back then, but it's just kind of holding up there, which it can be worse. So it's actually I kind of like the chart. I don't know if there is anything going for it at the moment, but the chart itself is looking pretty good to me. Mm-mm-mm. Okay, so what do you
I'm
think?
just replying to some
You
questions
are,
in chat.
yeah, I hear your very aggressive typing in the microphone. Athena, yeah,
ETH beta
I'm
seems to be
unsure.
strong.
Yeah, but it's also
Still a
very
piece of shit.
low. It's very, very low.
I mean,
It's
if Ethereum outperformed your ETH beta, then you should stick to ETH. You know what I mean?
yeah, that's probably a good point. Like like when you look at stuff like Aave, it's clearly at least going like in line in hand with Bitcoin and sorry, and with ETH, and it's up 25% in the last 3 days. ETH is up 14%. So like you have this beta, which is actually good beta because it's higher than
Mm-hmm.
fucking the main thing, right? But if you look at Athena, it's up. Okay, it's up also 15%, but it's like you see the chart. Like I don't really need to go through all of these details. Obviously, it's like when it's going to go, it's probably going to go a lot because it's just not liquid. But yeah, it looks like it's consolidating. It might go up, but also it might not go up. So
I just, you
who
know what I
knows?
think is the difference between Ethena and Aave and the performance? Ethena is just VC shitcoin. And I'm sorry, I'm sure a lot
Yeah.
of my friends done a deal and I'm salty they never reached out to me or you. But it's a VC shale fest, and I like Pigeon and 0x NS and whatnot, and I think he's a great trader and drama earlier this year. But I mean, just look at the coin, and then you look at Aave,
Yeah.
that's done zero marketing effectively through Aave is just Aave, and yeah, I
Yeah.
mean,
Yeah, it's definitely getting that like some of these like the DeFi coins are definitely getting this like a status at this point. It's been like what, like 5 years. Uh, so yeah, it's probably seeing these like still be around and actually getting like money coming in is always kind of a good sign. Someone asking about Fartcoin. I think Fartcoin is actually, I got some longs around $1 on Fartcoin. This is like last week ish. I think it's still pretty strong. It's just one of these things which I said many times, I don't have much of an edge when it comes to like a newer stuff and stuff that just doesn't have much data overall. So I was just basically like buying a TA pullback $1 round number trend situation. And I'm also kind of treating the whole thing in the same manner. So, price going up is good, but I'm also like using some like technical analysis to just trail my stop. I think it's looking, still it's pretty strong. Obviously now, I'm just hoping. If you are asking, like, I wouldn't buy it here, um, obviously, but I think there is like
it's a good coin.
I
Period.
don't even have. Yeah, it's just this kind of. It seems to be like a still people go to buy Fartcoin as this kind of like a meme coin um thing. But OI is also pretty crazy on it now. It went from like 200 mil to 350 in these last few days. So yeah, basically open interest on Fartcoin is, or at least from what I see on Velo, is at all-time high, while the price is kind of nowhere close to that, or not, maybe not
Ethos
all
on
time high. Yeah,
the
it's at all time high. So I don't know. For me, it's just like not bad, but not so great. ETH is still up. Oh yeah, it is
Dude, just give
still
me
going up.
one more week, please. I'll fucking tattoo Vitalik's dick on my face. Whatever. Just please stay up. Man, watch it collapse the day I need it not to collapse. God damn it.
Yeah, no, but it is looking pretty. I think it's clearly breaking from this consolidation. I don't think there's like much resistance, and 3K is going to be a big magnet for it. So I wouldn't be surprised. So we, I think, covered most of the coins. Do we have anything else in
I'll
mind?
probably just give a quick update on telemetry and call it a day.
Yeah. Is
I
it
mean, not.
open interest on
Yeah.
ETH healthy? It's not, but
Uh, we
price is
uh,
going up.
we
So
are long, so we close both eyes.
yeah. Like the indicators, like elevated open interest and all of these things, but which you should be careful about. It's they stop existing once you are actually long and you want the price to continue to go up.
You're
So
not just a Twitter
it's
cloud
fine.
chaser.
Yeah, it's fine now. I don't care.
Eve to 10,000.
Yeah. It's all the technical analysis and everything. It just doesn't work when I'm in a position and I want the market to go up. I just draw lines like arrows and hope for the best, basically. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, let's quickly look at Bongbot telemetry. We covered it last week. There's been a lot of changes. As of right now, it's obviously still closed for public. It's a 1 week, basically quicker to get the actual access, which should be hopefully soon, but no promises there. A bunch of new features, turbo mode. What I did like, because I've been attempting to trade on chain, which is just pathetic. I mean, it's my centralized exchange trading is too, but I don't know, stuff like they now have a trading view, charts in it. What I like, I don't want to open it for now because it's gonna be fucking annoying. But within Wallet Tracker, you'll get like a sound notification. So from my understanding, it's supposed to look like Agar for our centralized exchanges and tape traders, which I think can be good because if you're just sitting on X-Ray, let's just call it how it is. It's fucking schizophrenic. Which coin is should be good. So you'll have a. If you're tracking, let's say, if you're copy trading Adam, rest in peace, on chain, you get a notification he bought a coin. You can act on it. So, in a bunch of future and UI and UX fixes, and as the access becomes more and more public, there's going to be obviously stress tests, nice English there, with traffic and whatnot. But yeah, on chain has not been very profitable for me yet, but I will not give up. Because it's like, what is I'm not gonna have a little crash out, but I might as well. It's like you thinking, it's just like a sol here and there. But man, when you keep clicking and you know that one sol turns into 10 sol, then you're like, oh fuck, I just lost 1500 for no reason. Not for no reason, but like I'm just playing, right? And
one sol and a dream. Someone asking if there's an API for Bongbot. I'm actually not sure about that one.
Could be. Good question. API.
Yeah. No, I mean,
would be the use case?
Dude, I mean, like you could just automate a lot of the stuff, I guess. Hard to say, man. I had several attempts in understanding all of these things, but
there's a bunch of stuff you can already kind of automate with the presets. But
yeah, like from what I saw, from what Bongbot guys showed us, there is going to be a lot of this, like like the build your own automation with just clicking on a text fields, which is ideal for people that are retarded like I am with a lot of these things. So that's great. Cool. So I think
ETH to $1 million until I sell.
Anyway, thank you guys for tuning in this week. And yeah, we are going to get you soon-ish, aka a week from now. As always, the streams are sponsored by BONKbot, so thanks BONKbot guys. And if you want to, support us, support the stream, that you can use the link, which is also going to get you whitelisted for the launch of the terminal as well. So with all that being said, thank you guys for tuning in, and we'll